Welcome back, my fellow West Ham supporter. Go ahead and drop a like, share this video, and subscribe to our channel. That helps strengthen the claret and blue chain, making our club bigger and stronger every day. For West Ham fans, this situation is one of those that mix hope, frustration, and that old feeling that sometimes the club just seems to trip over its own choices. We're talking about Jean-Claire Todibo, the French center-back, who arrived with fanfare, praise, and promises of becoming the new pillar of the defense. Today, many call him the £32 million problem. It all began when the club managed to beat Juventus to his signing in what seemed like a real masterstroke by Tim Stuyten. Over £155 million were invested across 9 signings that window, but Stuyten's personal trip to Nice to convince Todibo was what really drew attention. At that moment, excitement was everywhere. A classy defender standing 6'4", coming off a great season in French football and on the verge of breaking into the French national team. It was the kind of signing that made supporters dream. But what came next was a disaster. The loan with an obligation to buy after 5 Premier League starts seemed like an easy target. The problem was he almost never completed 90 minutes. When he did play, he was subbed off before the end, and when he didn't start, he simply disappeared from the squad list. Then came reports of clashes with Julian Lopetegui and later tension with Graham Potter. The Frenchman was said to have fallen out with both, showing dissatisfaction and a lack of effort in training. The relationship deteriorated to the point where the board even considered selling him right after the purchase obligation was triggered. Even so, Todibo stayed in London. And since then, things have only gone downhill. He lost his place, missed several matches, and at one point wasn't even on the bench. The relationship between him and the club soured quickly. Reports suggest that Potter called Todibo in for a private chat, demanding more commitment and training. The defender's response? He reportedly showed up late the next day. The result? He was left out of the match against Tottenham. The fans, who were already doubting the player's attitude, began to lose patience. Many recalled that in behind-the-scenes videos released by West Ham's media team, he looked detached, unfocused. That only reinforced the feeling that something was off. When Potter was finally sacked, it came out that he'd clashed with several players, and Todibo was among them. It looked like the final chapter of a relationship that had never really worked. The arrival of NUNO Espirito Santo brought a flicker of hope. Maybe a new manager could change the atmosphere, rebuild the player's confidence, and give him a fresh start. But from the looks of it, that hasn't happened. In NUNO's first game in charge against Everton, Todibo was left out. At first, the reason given was a virus, something temporary. Later, NUNO confirmed the Frenchman was training again and available. The expectation was that he'd return in the next match against Arsenal, but once again he didn't even make the squad. That was enough for much of the fan base to understand Todibo is no longer in the plans. Before we move on, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Your support keeps the Claret and Blue family united and helps make West Ham stronger every single day. When fans noticed that Jean-Claire Todibo wasn't even on the team sheet, it became clear that something much deeper was going on. And it wasn't just a technical issue. It was about attitude. NUNO Espirito Santo in a short time showed that he didn't come to please big names, but to establish respect and discipline within West Ham. The more seasoned supporter knows how important that is. They've seen managers come and go, promises rise and fade, and what has always remained is the value of effort. A player can make mistakes, can fail, can have a bad day. That's part of football. But what West Ham fans can't stand is indifference. And Todibo's story ended up becoming exactly that, a symbol of how talent without dedication leads nowhere. From the moment he arrived, he was treated as a great triumph, a victory for the board over giants like Juventus. And let's be honest, seeing West Ham beat an Italian club in an international deal gave fans a sense of pride. It felt like the start of a new era. But what began with applause ended in doubt. Todibo never consistently showed the reason for all that excitement. In some matches, he gave a glimpse of the elegant defender everyone expected. In others, he looked lost, detached, disconnected from the Premier League's pace. And the problem wasn't just on the pitch. Reports suggested that his attitude in training was also disappointing. When Graham Potter was still in charge, he tried a direct conversation, one of those man-to-man talks meant to bring a player back. He asked for more focus, more commitment, more respect for the group. And what did Todibo do? He turned up late the next day. For those who've lived football for decades, that's a crystal clear sign of a lack of commitment. No manager who values hierarchy tolerates that kind of behavior. And at West Ham, a club that has always prided itself on the fight and heart of its players, that attitude weighs even heavier. When Potter was sacked, many thought the Frenchman would get another chance under Nuno Espirito Santo. After all, a new manager always brings new opportunities. But Nuno is a man of conviction. He doesn't work on improvisation or ego. And in his first few weeks, he made it clear only those who want to play for the club, who respect the badge and the dressing room, will play. Todibo's absence against Arsenal confirmed that. Even though he'd recovered and was training normally, he was left out of the squad. Nuno chose to give a chance to those who showed desire even if they had less of a name. That's consistency. And fans can sense consistency. Then Fabrizio Romano, always well-informed, revealed that Italian clubs had once again inquired about the defender's situation. They'd already tried to sign him in the previous window and planned to push again in January. And honestly, it seems like the best outcome for everyone. West Ham, meanwhile, needs to think about the future. The fans don't want to see another expensive player warming the bench for no reason. Over £30 million went into a deal that so far has only brought headaches. It's natural that the club wants to sort this out as soon as possible. What's most frustrating is how these stories keep repeating themselves. The older fans, the ones who followed the team through the 80s and 90s, have seen this movie before. Players arrive with hype, with slick videos, and then vanish under the weight of expectation. It's a cycle that needs to be broken. West Ham needs above all players who want to be there, who feel the privilege of wearing the shirt, of hearing the fans sing at the London Stadium, of knowing what it means to defend the claret and blue, and when supporters see someone who doesn't show that the bond breaks. And Nuno seems to understand that feeling perfectly. He doesn't want fleeting stars, he wants a united group, a team that honors the club's name. That's why for many his decision regarding Todibo is more than a tactical choice, it's a statement of principles. Now the big challenge is what comes next. The case of Jean-Claire Todibo isn't just an isolated problem. It represents something bigger, something structural within West Ham. The club needs to look at itself and reflect on the kind of squad it wants to build. Because spending millions and still ending up with the same empty feeling is a mistake that's been repeating for years. The older fans know West Ham has always had soul. It's always been that club that made up for a lack of resources with grit, unity, and belonging. The team that fought toe-to-toe with giants, not because of wages, but because of sheer will to win. And it's exactly that essence that seems to have been lost at times. When the club spends big on names like Todibo, and the outcome turns to disappointment, it's only natural to feel that something's missing. A sense of direction, a clear plan. It's as if West Ham lives on flashes and opportunities, rather than a solid project. But maybe with Nuno Espirito Santo, that's starting to change. The Portuguese manager arrived with calmness and authority. He wasn't dazzled by names or price tags, and in a short time, he's made it clear that respect for hard work and commitment to the group come before any individual talent. The decision to leave Todibo out, even with pressure behind the scenes and fans expecting to see him, shows that Nuno has both backbone and vision. And it's exactly that kind of leadership that can put the club back on track. Because more than just a good coach, West Ham needs a leader who understands what this shirt represents. A leader who reminds the squad what it means to play for West Ham, a club with history, with a working-class spirit, proud of its roots and its supporters. The more experienced supporters miss that. Those days when a player, even without star quality, gave everything on the pitch. When the club, even without big names, put on great performances out of pure heart. That's the spirit that needs to return. And perhaps ironically, the Todibo case might be the turning point, a reminder that without commitment, there's no path forward. Fabrizio Romano has already made it clear that Italian clubs are likely to come back for him in January, and no one will be surprised if the Frenchman packs his bags. But West Ham's focus has to go beyond that. What matters now is what the club does with this experience. Yes, the team needs reinforcements, but not just any reinforcements. It needs players with the right mindset, players who understand that West Ham isn't just a showcase, it's a commitment. Players who know what it means to be a hammer, who feel the weight of every defeat and the pride of every victory. And that's where the fans come in. Because West Ham supporters have never abandoned the club, not even in its darkest days. Many who are now over 50 remember what it's like to support a team that doesn't always win, but always fights. That loyalty is what keeps West Ham alive generation after generation. Nuno seems to understand that. He wants to rebuild the foundation of trust to give the team back its identity. And that means making decisions like this, valuing those who want to be there, who wear the shirt with pride, who understand what it means to defend the badge of a club that has suffered but never bowed down. The Todibo case is frustrating, yes, but it's also a powerful reminder that West Ham can't lose itself in names, contracts, and promises. Football is about emotion, about effort, about sacrifice. And perhaps by letting go of a talented player who doesn't show that the club is finally taking its first step toward rediscovering its soul, because in the end, that's what West Ham is. It's about resilience, falling and getting back up time and again. It's about singing in the stands even when the result doesn't go our way. It's about looking onto the pitch and seeing 11 players who represent a community, a history, a way of living football. So, fellow supporter, the message is clear. This is a time of change. It may hurt now, it may bring doubts, but maybe this is the start of something bigger. Maybe this is the moment when West Ham finally leaves improvisation behind and starts rebuilding with purpose. And if there's one thing time has taught us, it's this: West Ham may stumble, may make mistakes, may disappoint, but it never stops fighting. And that's why we're still here, heads held high, hoping the next chapter will be different. Because West Ham isn't just a team. It's a passion that spans decades. And passions like that never die. So that's all for today, folks. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, leave a comment, share, and of course subscribe to the channel for more. Take care, and I'll see you next time.